The Supreme Court has given a landmark judgment in the Waqf Amendment Act 2025 case. The judgment has been given by the Chief Justice of India, B.R. Gavai, and along with him, his associate judge 𝐃𝐨𝐰𝐧𝐥𝐸 together have given a landmark judgment. In this judgment, what they have said is they refused to freeze the entire Waqf Amendment Act of 2025, upholding the Parliament's sovereign authority in order to make laws. But at the same time, some of the provisions of the Waqf Amendment Act have been found to be prima facie arbitrary by the Supreme Court, and these sections of the Waqf Amendment Act only have been rejected by the Supreme Court of India. The provisions which have been stayed in the Waqf Amendment Act by the Supreme Court of India are: first and foremost, there was a provision in the Waqf Amendment Act that in order to donate your property to Waqf or declare it to be Waqf, a person should be a practicing Muslim at least for 5 years. But without having any clear criteria with respect to what is the meaning of a practicing Muslim, that too, how is the court going to determine the 5-year period whether he was practicing Islam or not? The Supreme Court said that this provision is in fact stayed. Then the second provision which has been stayed by the Supreme Court of India is, in fact, it said that the Waqf properties, whenever they come into dispute with the government under the new Amendment Act, the executive authority is going to adjudicate, and once the dispute is registered with any government agency, the Waqf ceases to remain a Waqf. This was the provision of the Waqf Amendment Act of 2025, but the Supreme Court had very clearly stated that this is absolutely wrong and it is totally unconstitutional. The primary reason here is the executive authority should not get any right to adjudicate. And at the same time, one more important thing that the Supreme Court has said is that if any dispute arises between a government property and the Waqf, then automatically the issue should go to the Waqf tribunal first and then the state high court, and only after that the Waqf can be de-recognized as a Waqf property. This is the second important stay that the Supreme Court has given. And the third one is, once a Waqf under the existing Waqf Amendment Act of 2025, any property which is declared as a protected monument by the government of India or the state government will cease to remain or will lose its status of being a Waqf. The Supreme Court said that this is also arbitrary and they cannot permit this provision. So that is the reason why they stayed this provision too. And one more important provision, which has been stayed by the Supreme Court of India is, it has stated very clearly that under the Central Waqf Council, out of nearly 22 members, only 4 can be non-Muslims. And at the state level, out of 11 candidates who will be part of the State Waqf Council, only 3 can be non-Muslims. And at the same time, as far as possible, the state Waqf boards CEO should be from the Muslim community is one more clear-cut judgment the Supreme Court has given. But at the same time, we should remember that the Supreme Court has upheld the central government's stance with respect to Waqf by user. Waqf by user is, in fact, a provision which was the most controversial provision in the Waqf Amendment Act. And this provision, it has been upheld by the Supreme Court, saying that Waqf by user is not going to stand the scrutiny of the government and it is abolished permanently. The reason for this is, from 1903 itself, there was a provision under the various Waqf Acts that the Waqf property should be registered with the government. But till date, many Waqf properties have not been registered with the government, and definitely in some of these properties, the government, is stating that these have been illegally occupied properties, and at the same time, mandatory registration with a deed is must for the Waqf to be registered with the government, and Waqf by user provision has been completely relegated now. So these are the important changes which have been done by the Supreme Court of India, and it had tried to balance the need for reform and at the same time so it also stopped the central government from showing over activism in the state case. In a major breakthrough for the Indian government has received the license and permit from the International Seabed Authority to explore polymetallic sulfur nodules from the Central Indian Ocean region. In fact, this is a major breakthrough for the Indian government, primarily because the resources are present in the deep sea region, and at the same time they are present outside the Indian jurisdictional capability of exclusive economic zone, and they are present in the high seas, which is considered to be a global common. And International Seabed Authority usually provides the licenses for various countries in order to explore these nodules. And as of today, only 19 countries across the world have these kind of licenses. And the Indian government particularly bagged the license in order to explore the nodules which are present in the Carlsberg Ridge in the Arabian Sea region. Carlsberg Ridge is nearly a 3 lakh square kilometer area which is present at the plate boundary between the Arabian and the Indian tectonic plates. So at the boundary of these plates, this Carlsberg Ridge is present. And at the same time, one more important thing that we need to remember is the Indian government also had made an application for getting the license in order to explore the ANS Mount region. ANS Mount region is Afanasy-Nikitin Seamount region, and this region's license is still pending. Most probably, the International Seabed Authority is going to take a call very soon with respect to the ASA Mount region too. And this is not the first time that we have got these licenses in order to explore the high seas. Earlier too, what we have done is we have got the license in order to explore the Central Indian Ocean Basin back in 2002 itself, and the license has been extended twice and it is going to expire in 2027. Then along with that, we also got one more license in 2016 in order to explore Indian Ocean Ridge, and this license is going to extinguish itself in 2031. So this is definitely very good news for India, primarily because most of the nodules which are present in the deep sea region, they contain very important minerals which are critical for the energy security of India. And along with the energy security, the transition into the electronic field is also dependent on these materials like copper, cadmium, then apart from that, cobalt, sulfur, nickel. Okay, so all of these resources and manganese in particular too are present in these nodules, and India's unique opportunity should be converted into a good opportunity, and it needs to be explored in the right state. In an important development with respect to the Vantara Wildlife Sanctuary, which has been maintained by the Reliance Corporation, the Supreme Court, because of numerous allegations of wrong practices, numerous allegations of animal right violations, numerous allegations of a carbon credit scam were made against the Reliance Corporation for maintaining the Vantara project. The Supreme Court of India had appointed a special investigation team under its retired judge by the name of Chalameshwar. And after conducting a thoroughgoing investigation over the Vantara project, the Supreme Court Special Investigation Team has given a complete clean chit to the Vantara organization. The Supreme Court did not find any wrongdoing in the practices of Vantara. The acquisition of animals was completely done under the legal statutes of the country, and at the same time, even for that matter, the animals are being well treated in the facility, and along with the good treatment of the animals, one more important thing is it was not any carbon credit scam. The Vantara Wildlife Sanctuary is definitely a charity organization which is taking care of animals out of compassion, because of which reason there is no wrongdoing in case of Vantara is the thing which has been identified by the Supreme Court's Special Investigation Team. So all false allegations, false claims about why Vantara was started, what is the commercial benefit. So all of these rumors should be put to rest in social media and media platforms too, primarily because the Supreme Court itself did not find any wrongdoing in the case of Vantara. The University Grants Commission has been given an 8-week deadline by the Supreme Court of India. And this deadline is in order to remove all caste-based discriminations and institutional discrimination against the lower caste people in the university campuses. Then apart from that, this 8-week deadline is an outcome of the petition filed by the mother of Rohit Vemula, who in fact committed suicide because of some discriminatory practices in the university, and along with that, Payal Tadvi, who also committed suicide because of the discriminatory practices in the universities. So because of this petition, the Supreme Court has given an 8-week deadline to the University Grants Commission. In fact, the University Grants Commission in 2025 itself has passed or has enacted Promotion of Equity in Higher Educational Institutions Regulations 2025. But there have been, when the regulations were put into the public domain, nearly 391 recommendations have been given to the University Grants Commission in order to reformulate and amend some of these regulations because they don't address the core issue of discrimination. But the University Grants Commission has delayed accommodating these suggestions and recommendations. So the Indra Jaising lawyer, she has put a petition in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has given an 8-week deadline, and Indra Jaising also in fact suggested 10 core amendments which are required in the regulations. Of these 10 amendments, abolishing the discriminatory practices, mental health counseling and social audits are some of the important provisions. And if these regulations are included, then naturally the discrimination and the problems which are present in the higher educational institutions, they might be reduced to a certain extent. So this is a welcome judgment of the Supreme Court. Let's wait for 8 weeks what the University Grants Commission is going to do, how many recommendations it is going to accommodate, how many recommendations it is going to reject, what will the Supreme Court say on the same issue. Let's wait and see. Thank you.